Today's review is going to be on a film called Slaughter High from 1986, the same year as the first film I reviewed this series, April Fool's Day. More on that later on in the review. Welcome back, everybody, to my April's Easter egg hunt. If you don't know what Slaughter High is about, it's about 8 people who are invited to their old high school for their 10-year reunion, where a fellow former student, disfigured from a prank gone wrong, is out to seek revenge. I think overall I was actually very impressed with the film, even though the version I saw of the film was like a VHS quality, but that kind of added to it. It wasn't a negative or anything. The cinematography is good in the film, framing is good as well. The writing is very good, and it's an interesting look at bullying in a way, and how in some films from the 80s, especially slasher films, they kind of had like a similar plot point where somebody who was bullied, pranked, or whatever ends up returning later on, exacting revenge. Another film that's, I'd say, kind of similar, The Burning, and I'll probably review that at some point. I did a small recommendation video way back in October of last year, I think, for it, so I'll put that in a card. The dialogue is comedic in parts, I guess, to lighten up the mood from the horror. The acting is decent. So with the acting, they had all the actors adopt an American accent, even though it was actually filmed in England. And if I remember correctly, there was one actress who actually was American in it, so that the accent wasn't faked. But she was accused of using a fake American accent after the film. The soundtrack is really good. It definitely feels like an 80s film. This could have been the version that I saw, which was very dark, but I put the lighting could have been a little better in like some scenes. I talked about it with a few friends, and I was mentioning that it was almost like a VHS rip from a VHS tape that had been played numerous times before, so it had that natural degrading to it. And I think it was the similar thing with this other film that I'll be reviewing called The Being. Both of these films had that same kind of VHS quality where it's like somebody watched it numerous times to the point the tape was degraded, and then they transferred the tape, and that's the quality that was on the YouTube video. Like I said at the beginning, it kind of adds to it a little bit. Again, I'd like to see a version where it's not as degraded as it was, if that's the case with it. It's well paced, and the editing is pretty good. The effects are well executed when you actually see them. I think they're spaced out throughout the film. The score is actually very similar to another 80s slasher film, Friday the 13th. So I guess that's another connection to The Burning in a way, because The Burning was often seen as like a Friday the 13th ripoff. I think it was released the same year, and it had like a similar storyline and stuff like that. The reason it was so similar is I think the composer was the same for each film, if I remember correctly. So the composer for Friday the 13th was also composing the music for this film. He used some of the musical cues that he used in Friday the 13th for this film, so that's why it sounds similar. Maybe he used some actual music from the film. I'm not 100% sure on that. Simon Scudamore, I think I said his last name right. He was brilliant and creepy as the character Marty, who is the one that was bullied in the beginning of the film and has that tragic accident and then returns and exacts revenge. Something interesting to note about it, Simon loved working on the film, but I'm not sure the timeline between the end of this and when he ended up taking his own life, but I think it was his mom that said that he would always talk about this film, like enjoyed talking about it and stuff like that. Despite some of the subject matter in it, he really enjoyed working on the film, and he turned in a brilliant and creepy performance as the main killer, you could say. An interesting tidbit about the film as a whole, its original title was actually April Fool's Day. They actually had to change it because of the other film, April Fool's Day, that came out the same year that I reviewed on April Fool's Day. I'm not sure how up to date this is, but on Imdb it says that as of 2018, Japan and Spain still use that original title. So I think it'd be pretty cool to get like a DVD or Blu-ray from that region that has that title on it as like a collector's item type thing. I think it'd be pretty cool. So I highly recommend you check it out if you get a chance. There is a copy on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description so that if you want to check it out, you just go there. And then you'll see what I mean by the whole VHS quality and how it's very dark in places where it shouldn't be as dark as it is. If I had to give this a rating, I would give it a 8.9. I think the VHS quality kind of could have been better, or the lighting was the thing that kind of brought it down a little bit. Overall, it was a very good film. I enjoyed it. If you like this review, be sure you give this video a like and subscribe if you're new. Stay tuned for the rest of the reviews that I have coming up. They get weirder and weirder as we get closer to Easter. See you in the next one.